I've taken 3 significant and intense neurological exams by a neurologist.
Are you sure about that?
That's the democratic process. It's not going to happen. No one's saying that. No poll says that. The idea anybody suggests that there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now, later in the campaign. Putin and I said, and now, at the very end, I said, Putin, I said, no, I'm sorry, Zelensky. And then I added 5 other names. Look, I'm good. I'm tested every single day.
Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday. Yes, you just watched some of Joe Biden's big boy press conference. That was You did a great job, Joe. You did it. It was your big boy press conference. Great job. You only screwed up about 100 times, and then you were really creepy with whispering. Really creepy with the whispering. Want to welcome to the program Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Eric July, of course, BlazeTV contributor and founder of Ripaverse Comics. So obviously this press conference, this big boy press conference happened last night. And you saw some of the lowlights, as it were. But I want to play for you. I believe we have another montage of some of these greatest hits of our dementia patient in chief. Watch.
I directed the intelligence community to be a significant amount of intelligence be declassified.
What?
So I could start building an international coalition to oppose the invasion. As Putin amassed Russian forces just 100 miles north of Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, but Putin thought it was the mother home of Russia. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No pollsters then. Okay. Thanks.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody.
I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. And I've spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader has. Over 90 hours since being vice president all the way through, for real. And by the way, I handed all my notes.
By the way, he did call Kamala Harris Vice President Trump.
Trump is so good that he's not only the Republican nominee, he's also the vice president.
I mean, we'd be doing way better.
Way better.
If Donald Trump was vice president. Well,
no joke. No joke. No joke.
Can we talk about that for a second? Why, how many people are telling him, or maybe they're not, maybe they're like, Joe, please stop leaning in and whispering. It's really creepy. Please stop. And yet he persists. Nevertheless, he persisted with the creepy whispering. But I mean, at least he's not sniffing children, because when he's not whispering, he is leaning in and sniffing children. So I just, after all of this disastrous press conference, which if you were reading the Harry Sissons of the internet, they're like, see, take that, everyone who said that Joe Biden was half dead. That was awesome. Was it? So they were trying to boost morale for the Biden campaign team. And Biden's chairwoman had some, I would say, pretty delusional feedback per an audio recording that was obtained by Axios of this all-staff meeting yesterday. The campaign chair told all of the staff, We had 2 very, very hard weeks, very bad weeks. I told you I'd level with you. They've been bad weeks. If we can get through these 2 weeks that we're living through, we can get through anything. Tune out, crazy gossip land world. We have to bypass the narrative out there. By the way, this was the 3rd all-staff call since just last Wednesday. So last week, Gavin Newsom, of course, governor of California, Gavin Newsom was brought in. They were like, I know who's going to rally the troops. Gavin Newsom. He is like Joe Biden's greatest cheerleader. So he was telling them all, I think there's an old African proverb that says, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And that's what this is all about. There's never been a president in our lifetimes. I don't know if there ever will be again that's delivered more than President Biden. It's just a fact. It's just a fact, you guys. It's just a fact. Joe Biden, no one has delivered more than Joe Biden. I'm wondering if they're like just talking about delivering shit. Because that is true. Like if the measurement is how much shit has a president delivered, I think he wins. I think he wins. I'm just saying. I think he wins.
I don't know what these guys are going to do, but I think, man, it's going to be interesting seeing not just this whole presidential election, but ones in the future now that information spreads so much and it's so far, and it's far more difficult, and they're really acknowledging that, for them to just control a narrative, right? Now, if everybody saw it, I think what could have happened, even like maybe 10 years ago, if you even go back to maybe 2012, right before you had like just a massive social media takeoff like we had in the recent decade, they were able to basically say, don't believe your lying eyes. So the CNNs will run cover, the MSNBCs will be able to run cover. And even if you did see a man that was old and kind of worn out, they'd be like, oh, he's fine, everything's good. But now, just because really largely the political conversation is not being had in an arena that's being facilitated by the mainstream anymore, now we all get to obviously talk about this stuff sort of round table, and it's so far widespread. The reason why I bring that up, because it's been very interesting to see even some of the, not necessarily the big dogs, but some of the more leftist publications and leftist commentators come to terms with this. Like, this guy is in terrible shape, and I don't know what the hell we're going to be able to do to sort of salvage this. There's not a whole lot of options on the table, especially now that they've waited so long and it's too late. And I think that's what people need to consider. I think I brought this up the last show. Even if they wanted to replace them, considering some of the laws in a lot of these states, it's too late to get someone on the ballot unless you're going to vote for maybe some sort of third party. But that's not the plan there. So this is what you got.
Right.
And he's just deteriorating. And as we get closer to like the actual election and he's going around trying to rally the troops, it's going to be very difficult for him to do that, if not impossible. Because even in we saw what happened in the debate with Trump, but in a solo press conference, this guy, he's getting worse, which is amazing, because we saw this deterioration very early on. And he's not even the same guy that he was maybe even a couple of years ago, let alone if you start looking at some of the vice presidential debates that he had where, yeah, he's stupid. A lot of what he says doesn't necessarily make sense, but he was far quicker on his toes, and you could at least make out what he was trying to say. Now, all of that's off the table, and could you imagine giving him 4 years? He doesn't. There's no way he wouldn't be able to make it 4 years. So now the American people are just seeing it. A lot of normies are seeing it, and I don't know if they can save this. I mean, if he does somehow, let's say if the margin is so big that they can't. I mean, let me backtrack. It'll be a totally legitimate election.
Thank you.
Coming up. Totally legitimate.
Aside from the well, there's obviously going to be fortification. Okay, let's just get that out of the way.
It'll be a totally legitimate race, let's say that. But seriously, if somehow he does end up able to pull all the stops and pull it out, there's no way he makes it 4 years. I don't think anybody believes that, but I will say it will be damning for America if somehow, despite seeing this, they still turn out in droves and somehow he's the guy.
So to Eric's point, some of the they're leaking what's going on in this all staff meeting, and apparently after the debate, because again, this press conference was after the disastrous debate. This was supposed to save him, which don't even get me started on the fact that we're using the term big boy press conference to try to save him. Like, how many people were like, this is a good idea, let's call it a big boy press conference. But so right after the debate, campaign leadership was apparently telling the staff, we definitely saw a little bit of slippage, but nothing significant, nothing massive, no bottom falling out. Like, were we watching the same debate? Do you really think that your staffers are so dumb they're going to be like, oh, you're right, this was fine, everything's fine with the buildings burning right behind you on fire?
Yeah, everything's fine.
So yeah, exactly. And so apparently staffer leaked to Axios, the chat function is always turned off for all the all staff calls, so they can't be raising real-time concerns during the staff call. And this is my favorite part of this entire story. At a Biden campaign debate watch party, a Biden source said, as the president fumbled several answers, one person stood up and then laid down on the floor, despondent.
Well, of course they did. I mean, that's their
just
kind
laid
of response,
down
right?
on the floor.
But to your point, Eric, all of us knew. I mean, if we cast our minds back with 4 years, which in Biden years is like 50 years, right? Because
absolutely.
I mean, he's deteriorated so badly.
Is that like dog years?
It is. It's
Yeah.
basically. Talking about dogs, I did say, as you saw on X, that I praised my dog, my new puppy, for peeing on the grass this morning. And I felt like I was a part of the Biden administration.
You were Jill.
Good boy. You're such a good boy.
You did it.
You did it. But if we cast our minds back to 2020 and the run up to that, look, he was bad then.
Yeah.
He was really bad then. But what they did was they could hide him. Let's not forget this. Like, he didn't come out, and then when he did, they pumped him full. I mean, I remember sitting there waiting for that debate, going, this is going to be an absolute disaster. And he came on, he does the thing, right? He had the thing with the eyes, just the same thing, right? And so they obviously pumped him full of something, and he managed to get through the debate. And I was sitting there, I don't know if you were, I was like, how did that happen? Like, we know he's not there. Now what they're doing is they're trying to do the same thing, basically. They knew that he had to have this kind of press conference, and then they said, you know what, let's get him out, let's push him out there, and he can do this press conference, and he's going to pass with flying colors. I don't know why they would ever think that, right? But you could see as he was going on, and we joke about it, right? He was visibly slowing down and getting worse as things went on. And you know when he's trying to do his speech, and you can tell in his brain, he's like, I can't get through this. He rushes through the words as fast as he can. Right, because he's trying to get through it, but he doesn't have the motor functions to do it anymore. I mean, this is really bad. And genuinely, last night I started watching it. I saw him call Vice President Trump, and earlier on he called Zelensky Putin and all that. I mean, this is very, very, very serious. I mean, we joke about it, but it is really serious. If we had a terrorist attack, it'd be a nightmare. But
can I hold on? We will have one.
Oh, we're going to have one.
As a result of the 10, 12, 14 million illegals that have poured in through our southern
I'm just
border.
surprised. I'm just surprised we haven't had it yet, right?
Yeah, the question is when, not if.
If you were a bad guy, you'd be like, you got to hit him now because who's second in command? She's an idiot. But I was genuinely watching it yesterday going, I wouldn't be surprised if he just keeled over and died.
It's literally every time I watch him, I'm like, is that going to happen?
Right,
I don't say that with pleasure. I don't
want it to happen,
No.
right? But it's a genuine thing. I'm sitting there and I'm like, because he has those moments. You can see the moments where he just goes,
yep.
And look, I'll tell you this as an actor, it's like if you're doing a character, you know when the other guy has forgotten his lines because they glaze over, and it's the same thing with him. But he just detaches from reality.
Yeah.
And then that's when he goes, no joke, or whatever he says to get through it. And then he changes the subject. But he's in really, really, really bad shape. And that is not good for the country. And these cultists, and that's what they are. They're cultists. And you see, by the way, Eric, George Clooney comes out and he says he's got to be replaced, right? Now, you can say that George Clooney's leftist, whatever. He's telling the truth. He does need to be changed. He shouldn't have gone behind him in the light. They built a rod for their own backs. They were like, he's great, he's this, he's that. Well, now you're seeing the truth of it. But look at what's happening to people who are calling him out. The Borg is turning on anyone that doesn't worship the hive mind of liberalism. And so even when someone comes out like George Clooney is a leftist and he says something that is absolutely correct, that he should go, everyone's like, George Clooney, screw you. We hate you, George. Oh, look at the George that was. He's the guy that we loved. And look at him now. And I'm like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, my popcorn.
Yeah, I love to see it. Yeah, exactly. I know, exactly. All right, speaking of Hollywood and the movie industry, let's talk about the new Captain America movie. I think the trailer just dropped, today? I don't know. We're going to find out and watch it. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Jace Medical. So according to the University of Utah's Drug Information Service, total active drug shortages hit an all-time high of 323 in this year's first quarter. There were 48 new shortages recorded this year just through the month of March. I would say that's pretty serious. I don't know about you. And I would just say that there is also something that you can do to ensure that you and your loved ones have medication on hand when it's needed. It's called the Jace case, and it's going to allow you to start stocking up on medication now so that you are prepared. This is the same as emergency food. You don't wait until you need it and then go, hey, I should get some emergency food. You get it beforehand, ahead of time, so that you are prepared. So this is no different. It's a personalized emergency kit that contains essential antibiotics and medications that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. There's 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use that come already, and then you can also customize. You can add ivermectin. You can add an EpiPen. You can customize it to your liking to fit your family's needs. You can go to jace.com, enter promo code Sarah at checkout for a discount on your order. That is promo code SARA at JASE.com. Well, Marvel Studios dropped a new Captain America trailer today, and I don't know what most people are wondering, but I have sadly watched most of the movies, so I am wondering, is this going to be, just fake and gay, or maybe retarded? I don't know. But let's watch that trailer.
Global power is shifting. You're just a pawn.
A Brave New World. Now, what's interesting about this is that Brave New World was not the original title for the film. It was actually New World Order, which, I don't know.
Fancy that.
I'm just wondering, hold on. Where have we heard that term before? I don't know.
New World Order.
New World Order.
New World Order.
Oh.
We're going to have at least one WCW clip in there. We couldn't add that. New World Order.
Come on, control room. What the hell are you doing in there? So you got to wonder. I mean, I'm sure you, former Hollywood, you obviously big into comic books and all of this, genre. How many people did this go through originally who were like, yes, New World Order. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one we want. I mean, legit, give just an estimate. Just like your best. How many people that have gone through?
I mean, it has to go from everyone from the screenwriter who would have written it originally, more than likely. I don't know if they would have done it in a spitballing session, but then it would have had to go all the way up all the sections of Marvel, and then it would have had to go all through the people at Disney, and it would have gone right to the top. It would have been approved at the top. There's no. And by the way, Brave New World isn't that much better. For anyone that actually reads books, Brave New World is not that much better.
Yeah, that's a great point.
They were like, okay, New World Order. Let's just move the world and the brave and do.
Right.
They're just stupid people.
Also gay.
Look,
I'm fake.
There's a lot. I mean, I'm assuming that the title is more an irony than anything else. I think people need to understand with Marvel Studios, with this movie, there is a 0% chance it is profitable. And it has nothing to do with the fact that people might not like it. It's because it is reported that they spent $370 million on the movie. That means that they're going to have to clear nearly $1 billion for that to be profitable. For people that will, of course, try to correct me in the actual comment section because they don't seem to understand how box offices work. Box offices do not work in a sense like, hey, this film makes $500 million. That means the film made $500 million. That is incorrect. I believe it's like almost 60% of the proceeds, box office, if you will, are going to actually go to the studios. The rest goes to the theaters. That line increases even more if you have like if it's internationally playing. So that will go up to like, I think it might be only like 20% in China or whatever that the studios are going to get. There is no chance in hell this movie makes $1 billion. And so they're not going to be profitable by any means. The reason that happens is because, well, Hollywood budgets in general are bloated, but they have reshot this film several times. I believe that they've reshot this film like 3 times, like legitimately the whole entire thing that they've shot. Every report is like, they're reshooting. It's going through significant reshoots. This is not the same movie that they initially wanted to shoot. Now, I don't know if that has something to do with, well, the previous Marvel movies have been all dead on arrival. The Captain Marvel movie lost almost $500 million, which is significant. So they're going to catch a W for sure with this Deadpool versus Wolverine thing, but I don't think that's going to move the needle. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is done, son. Like, there's no rekindling that flame. It is over with, and it's their own doing. It has nothing to do. I'm tired of hearing this BS, superhero fatigue, and I get it. People that use that term are using it in different ways, right? When I think fatigue, I think, well, there's people have an issue with the genre. No, they don't. They have an issue with the trash, right? Yes. That's what it is. So, yeah, you no longer have the normies anymore. You've kicked out the diehards. Same thing that Star Wars did. You've kicked out all the diehards. You committed to, for whatever reason, social justice and other nonsense box checking, and not just with the narratives. It's with your hiring practices top to bottom. And because you prioritize that over actually, I don't know, making a good superhero film, well, you make a bad superhero film. Even if you think that you have guys that can maybe come up with a decent story or some sort of decent film, the people that you put in the positions are in there not because of merit, but because first, you must check a box, right? So it's all spells disaster for these guys over at Marvel. Damn be the title. But that's not the only thing that they've retitled. I don't know if you guys know the Agatha show that's about to come out. That's going through like 5 different titles as well. I think now it's just titled Agatha. It was like Agatha and the something and Agatha and this and that. So they're known for like retitling things. Marvel is in trouble. I don't know if you guys heard even about the Blade film. I don't think that's coming out. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think that Blade film is coming out. That's going through significant reshoots. They wanted to, obviously, of course, surprise. They wanted to make it about Blade's daughter.
Oh,
that came out. They wanted to make it about Blade's daughter, so that came out. Ali's, I believe, his agent is like, he's never heard anything about this because he got brought on in 2019. They haven't shot a damn thing. They haven't shot anything. That movie is probably not coming out. I'm just being honest. So Disney in general is screwed up, but Marvel especially, along with Star Wars, man, them boys is in trouble, man. They in trouble.
It's like they were handed this on a silver platter and they decided, no, we're going to take a hard U-turn or hard left. That's what I'll say. Hard left to DEI instead. And I mean, listen, I got dragged to, I don't remember what the last one was that came out, but I got dragged to, I think it was the last one, by my husband. And I was like, if he was in the control room right now, I would give him a hard time about it, but he's not. And I was like, we watched it and I was like, I will not do this again. I'm not coming to, I understand he had good intentions because he was like, but what if this is the one where they turn it around? But the trailer looks good. Let's just go. And then there was all the gay stuff and I was like, I gotta go. I'm not doing this again. And he was like, me neither. So
yeah, it's. Firstly, to your point about the box office, it's not only that what you said. It's also about the P&A, right? So the press and advertising that they put into these is about.
Well, that's why it has to make $1 billion, right?
It's got to make a ton of money,
yeah.
And it's not going to. And what's unfortunate is, look, Anthony Mackie is a great actor. Like, he's paid his dues. He's a very, very good actor. I mean, but you can't go in a movie and then go and do a TV show and then go back to a movie again. It doesn't work like that. Like it's like levels of prestige, as it were. Like if you can go and watch it on TV, you're not going to want to go into the theaters and do it. So as far as Anthony's concerned, it's really unfortunate for him, because what is he going to do? He's played the Falcon, which, by the way, nobody really cares about that character. Like, you're not going to spin it off. You're not going to like make it all attractive by slapping Captain America on it, because nobody really wants to go and see that anyway. So he's set up to fail, regardless of what is happening there. But the problem with the woke stuff that's come before is people aren't going to give it a shot now. They're not going to go, well, maybe it's the one. Nobody's doing, like Stephen will not do it on this one. He's not going to go, let's just give it a shot,
No,
right?
he's done.
Because they've done it over and over and over again. They've burnt up any kind of goodwill that the diehards had. Like, I mean, I can't believe that I just don't care anymore.
No.
And I was a big comic book fan. I don't care. I don't want to see any of their things. Agatha, by the way, who the hell wants to see that?
Not even Agatha.
Nobody wants to see
be
it.
fair, it's not Agatha. It's not Agatha. These characters are only the characters in name, and I can nerd out for the next half hour about
Eric's
this.
like, how much time do we have?
If I wanted to, but no, seriously, like I hated the idea. I hate the idea of him being. It's not even against Mackie. Sam Wilson's Falcon was always a stupid character. Y'all know I hate tokenization. He's not Captain America. There's only one Captain America, and it's Steve Rogers. He was okay as Falcon, and he should have stayed damn Falcon if that was who he's going to be. I hate this whole look. Everybody knows my position on tokenization. I don't like the whole race swap thing. That's not anything that I'm a fan of, where you take this original black character and then you say, well, let's make him now get the sloppy seconds of the historically white character, and he's going to fly around with his shield, because apparently him just being his own original character was not good enough. And I hated it when they did it in the comics. I hated it now that they're doing it live, or in the live action sense, and it's very unfortunate. This was theirs to screw up. I mean, the same thing. It's funny. At this point, you could swap in or out the IP. What I just said about this could also apply to Star Wars, which probably could also apply to Star Trek, which probably could also apply to basically any IP. They've ran all of these bad boys into the ground. So if nothing else, I mean, I would argue that what happened out of this is why you got the Rippaverse. It was me looking at this nonsense and saying, okay, I'm going to have to do this myself. And so I did. And I happened to see a lot of success. But imagine that. A guy that has invested all the money that I have in all of these comic books is not stoked on a comic book movie. And that is the same thing can be said for pretty much a significant amount of people worldwide.
By the way, it was also, you were inspired by those guys back in the day.
Well, of course.
So it's really personal, because you sit there and you're like, I feel the same, like, you know, when people talk about Bond and they go, let's get Idris Elba in as Bond. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why don't you just write a great character? Yeah. Like, get out there and write something for him that's fantastic, that's going to have a legacy of black spies.
Yeah, why not?
I'd go and see it. You know, did it? And I know some people pulled us up on this before about The Equalizer, because The Equalizer was originally Edward Woodward, but it was a television show. Denzel came back, he reinvented it, and nobody cares, right? Everyone's like, this is, you know, as in nobody cares that it's a black character. They're like, it's great. It's a great character. He's set up a legacy. If he wants to spin it off now into a younger guy or whatever, we can do that. And everybody loves that series. I love the 3 movies, the Equalizer movies. So all you've got to do in Hollywood, and you know this because, you know, it's the same kind of creative group, is just make great content. Stop pandering. As you said, don't take these white characters and just go, well, you know, let's just like shove a black character. Like, do the work, man. Like, create something new. Yeah. And everyone will go and watch it. Nobody's not going to watch The Equalizer, right? Like, they want to go and see great material. And that's what we want. That's, at the end of the day, what we want is we want the truth, whether it's in whatever, whether it's in news, whether it's in our lives, and we certainly want it in our entertainment. Like, don't bullshit us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, Eric, where can people go if they want comics that aren't woke?
Go to rippaverse.com. We're all about entertainment. Right now, we're in the middle of Gooding the Polymath. It was written by Mike Barron, who is, for people that know that name, he did the definitive Punisher in the 80s. So he's writing a book for us, and it's called Gooding the Polymath, so go check that out. So yeah, to your point, I end on this. The reason why it's working is because that's all people care about. They just want to be entertained. Obviously, we got black characters, we have female characters, and somehow we've been able to make almost $10 million in sales in 2 years. It's almost as if you just give people what they want, they will pay for it.
Yeah. Speaking of, before we go to break here, speaking of reinventing the wheel or not reinventing the wheel. As you know, the News and Why It Matters is dead and buried. And so Blaze has now launched a new nightly news program. It's called Blaze News Tonight. Make sure that it's weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Make sure, I think they have a YouTube channel as well. So make sure that you go subscribe, check it out, and you can get your nightly news fix. We will be right back. So last night, I don't know if you guys saw this. I guess the ESPYs were on, which is the ESPN award show. Is that the one where Bruce Jenner won Woman of the Year?
I believe so.
Just to set the stage for the credibility of this particular awards program, okay? That was on, and Serena Williams was hosting it, and she took it upon herself. I wish that we could play the clip. Apparently, ESPN is very touchy about playing their clips, so I can't play it, but she just totally blasted Kansas City Chiefs kicker. He's a kicker?
Yeah.
Harrison Butker. And she was on stage with her sister Venus and the presenter Quinta?
Okay, I think it's Quinta.
Quinta Brunson?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, listen, just spell your name well so I can pronounce it. Otherwise, I might not. And so Venus Williams said, enjoy women's sports. They're just like other sports. And then Serena said, except you, Harrison Butker, we don't need you. And it was interesting because apparently Harrison Butker was in attendance sitting near the front, and they had so many cameras all in the room. Not one of them panned in on him, and instead they focused on Serena and Venus for like 30 seconds, which, by the way, for those of you who may not remember why Harrison Butker is even a thing that we're talking about right now, not that long ago, he faced a ton of backlash for his remarks at Benedictine College. He was giving a speech there, and he told the female graduates that they were most excited about their marriage and the children that they would bring into this world. And apparently, we're not allowed to talk about that. You're not allowed to talk. You can't talk at a Catholic college. You can't possibly think that it's appropriate to talk about finding a good husband and marrying and having lots of kids, Matthew.
Well, here's the funny thing. I'm friends with the president of Benedictine because it's one of the only places that we would ever send our kids to. And they've had massive uptick in people applying to go to that college.
That's great.
Especially, by the way, women. Isn't that funny? Because as it turns out, Christian people want to hear that message. Mm-hmm. So actually, Venus, Serena, we don't need you. You may continue on in your miserable lives because Harrison Butker, I mean, look, what he said was not controversial. He actually
shouldn't be.
No, but he actually said you can go off. If anyone, they clearly didn't watch the clip. He said, you can go off and do that. But shock horror, he's actually saying that you can have a very happy life if you have kids and you get married and you settle down.
It is. That whole shtick was like, I didn't understand it. I tried to, and oftentimes I can understand why there may be backlash for things. But when you actually watch the clip of what he said, there is nothing in there that is even remotely controversial. But for some reason, they tried to spin it and make it seem as if it was. The ESPYs aren't to be taken serious. Yes, it's a jab at him, clearly, but I start taking them serious. Definitely, I think Riley Gaines brought this up as well. She did. All this crap that we see happening in women's sports right now with, I don't know, guys that got what I have, actually pretending to be women and destroying your sport. They didn't mention Jack Diddley squat about any of that stuff, right? Nothing.
Wait.
Nothing's discussed there.
I love that you said guys that have what I have, which inherently just makes you a guy, right?
Obviously.
People with penises.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yeah. That are pretending to be women.
Right.
Are ruining your sports. And y'all worried about this dude.
Right.
And do you remember as well, like John McEnroe came out and he said that there's no way that Serena Williams, who's the greatest tennis player of all time, could ever compete with men.
I think she said she knew
And
she
she
couldn't.
came out. No, she came out
agreed.
and she said Andy Murray would beat me 6-0, 6-0, 6-0
Yeah.
in 5 minutes. And she said it. And that's okay. But what they don't understand is by doing this, taking this approach, eventually they're going to be obsolete. It's like the Oscars, how now they're saying, well, maybe we want a gender neutral Oscar. Well, good luck with that, because nobody's ever going to beat Daniel Day-Lewis. Ever.
Do you know what's sad too is I just looked this up. Serena Williams apparently has 2 daughters. And it's like, how do you think that your kids feel
Look, this is
when
the
you have a
reality.
hard time with people who say the most important thing in your life should be your family?
None of that makes sense. But as far as like the sport or sports in general, look, they're going to go to crap unless this stuff starts to get banned. Like I think we're starting to see the inevitable. It's happening in obviously all of these high school sports. Yeah. But the fact that these guys aren't saying anything, and more of the big dogs, again, we're talking about Riley Gaines, a former collegiate swimmer, that's really like leading the charge against a lot of this stuff. None of the pros are, right? Wow. And you know why? For the same reason that when William Thomas was out there swimming against them, well, you had people in secrecy basically saying that, hey, they had a problem with this. This dude's walking around with his junk out in front of everybody, but they wouldn't put their name to it. They had to go through guys like Outkick going anonymously. You know why? Because for whatever reason, this is how jacked up this damn country is. These people are more afraid of being called a transphobe or something stupid like that than they are, let's say, not even afraid. They'd much rather the sanctity of their sport be just absolutely shredded to pieces. They'd rather the sport go to crap than be called a transphobe, which when you think about it like that, this is stupid. This makes no sense. This is why they don't say anything, because they would not rather the media or whoever else or any of their colleagues, everybody in that room, damning them saying that you're a transphobe. And that lets you know that this is all jacked up.
But it's also about money. It's about sponsorship, because if they get called a transphobe, right, which we get called all the time, or homophobic, or racist, or whatever, is the sponsorship goes away. Well, here's the thing. You have to be able to draw a line at some point and say, I'm not doing this anymore. And the moment we said this about, the other thing that I can't say because else we're going to get, stopped on YouTube again. Unless we say enough, and enough people say that, it's going to continue, and it will destroy the sport, and the sponsors are going to retract because they're terrified. They're like, oh no, we don't want anyone saying that, accusing us of supporting that, right? It doesn't matter if it's true. We all know it's bullshit. It's not true, right? You're not a transphobe because you don't want your daughter to have a guy in the changing room with him, with her, right? That's ridiculous. That is the number one thing, as you're saying, like with Serena and Venus. You should be protecting your daughters. There's nothing more important. You've made millions and millions of dollars. What's more important now?
To be fair,
what was ever more important than your kids?
And that's the point. Is your daughters should be more important than just reducing Harrison Butker to a punchline.
Family is...
Right. That's like, I'm sorry. Because what I hear from that is you would be willing to throw away your family for your career. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick one, I would walk away from this today.
Yeah.
Like today, and not even hesitate. And it sounds a whole lot like all of these people in this profession are just, women specifically, have a really hard time.
I don't get it.
Calling their kids the most important, their family is the most important.
Though. It's an echo chamber. That's what you got to understand, because the same people are going to those ESPN parties, go to the Hollywood parties.
It's
all the same group.
Yeah.
There's nobody that and good for Harrison Butker, because he's turning up there and he's like, I know they all hate me.
Right.
I don't care. And that is awesome.
Yeah.
And he knows that his reward is not in this life, it's in the next life. And what he's doing, and I found this, and just a little aside, I found this on X and social media, is that I've had people come up to me and said, hey, Matt, listen, we're watching what you're saying. We're not saying anything, but we're behind you. And actually, what I've come to realize now is more people are there. They might be quiet, but they're all like that. This is not going to happen.
They need to not be quiet, though.
They need to not be quiet.
Because if they're quiet, nothing changes.
Good point.
Right?
But they're out there.
Yes, and I know they are, because I know that we are, this is the majority opinion. right? Like,
Yeah, this is screwed up. Most people have that position. It's the rational position.
correct. But if everyone is too scared to say this is my opinion too, then nothing changes, because the other side thinks that they're the ones that have the majority.
So they're the squeaky wheel, though.
Well, right, and that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not trying to discredit the people who are saying we're with you, we're in agreement with you, but at the same time, it's like, cool, that doesn't mean no good if you stay back in the closet. Hidden.
Well, my point was, and you know this, I did this kind of social experiment on X, and I said, please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and people wouldn't do it.
Right.
They wouldn't do it. They're like, no, your content, you this, you that. Yet Hook to a girl has 1 million or whatever, and all of a sudden they're throwing money at her. And I'm like, we're really bad at this. So I feel you on this. I'm like, you've got to step in and be involved. Like I keep saying about whenever you go to these great drag queen story hours, nobody turns up to help her.
Right.
Nobody. She does it on her own, and it's on your own time, and it's outside of things. And people sit back and they go, well, you go, Sarah, you should do it. Actually, no.
Right.
You're putting yourself physically in danger, but you really believe in what you're doing. This is what people have to understand, is the people on the Blaze, they really believe in what they're doing. Like, you went off and did your thing, you're doing your thing, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. But we do need people that's like, subscribe to Blaze, it matters, right? If you don't like all this other stuff that's going on, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, or even when it comes to YouTube, just click the frigging button.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you aren't subscribed to Blaze, just subscribe to my YouTube channel, it's free. If you're watching,
they don't do that because they're like, oh, we don't want to support YouTube. It's not you can't think like that. It's all about numbers and power. Even to the left, it's about numbers and power.
Yeah.
And you're not going to, they're trying to change it with Rumble, but YouTube is still the gold standard to go to. It just is.
Yeah, no, you're right. Okay, we got to take a break because I want to have time to talk about this this next story here about our favorite Democratic Socialist, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or is she still a Democratic Socialist? We'll be right back. All right, before I tell you guys this, I want to remind everyone about Cardio Miracle. It has just been such an amazing supplement for me. It has nitric oxide. Actually, I met the owner of it at your movie premiere.
Really?
Yes, yeah. So it's like this all natural. It tastes great. It's got nitric oxide, which helps with so many different ailments, including obviously heart. It's great for heart health. It's great for stamina. Yes, that kind, if you'd like. It's great for energy. It's great for gym recovery, whatever you need. So go check them out. It's cardiomiracle.com/Sarah. That is cardiomiracle.com/Sarah. And you are going to get some savings there. So I want to remind you guys, we're talking about AOC, okay? And AOC apparently is not anti-Zionist enough, according to the Democratic Socialists of America. So after 6 years of supporting her, the Democratic Socialists of America, being the nation's largest socialist organization, is revoking its endorsement of her candidacy for re-election. Yes. As you know, AOC, very pro-Israel. Oh, wait, she's not at all. And but apparently she did say in a recent live stream, this was back in June, this was hosted by the Jewish Council for Public Affairs, AOC stated that some recent criticisms of Israel could be interpreted as anti-Semitic. And the Democratic Socialists of America were like, nope, you've betrayed us. You betrayed us. You betrayed all who fight Israeli apartheid and genocide, and we are revoking your endorsement. And I'm here for it. As Matt talked about, just with your popcorn, I'm just going to sit back and I'm just going to watch this happen. Just watch the left eat their own. They're doing such a great job at it. I'm just here to see it.
Well, this is what happens when you fracture groups off, right, to control them. Eventually, because everyone thinks they're safe, right? And these they're little groups, I'm safe, until you don't toe the line. And then the Borg goes, oh, I will destroy you next. It's not, you've basically got to say that all Jews must die. Otherwise, you're out.
Right.
Right. And she hints something which is totally reasonable, that there is anti-Semitic things out there. Then I'm sorry, boom, you're out. But look, like you say, at least we know what they're about now. We know that these people are horrible.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, we did know that for a very long time.
We did, but they, you know, as far
Yeah.
as whatever AOC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you get what you deserve. But if we were a proper country, there would be no leading party full of socialists at all. If there's one government policy that I support, it's deporting socialists. And I think we should do that, and I'm being dead ass serious about it. I'm not even joking about it. They are the most evil pieces of crap that exist on planet Earth. They are responsible for the deaths of millions upon people. Their policies destroy countries, destabilizes countries, and completely ruins economies. And the fact that there's people even on your ticket that could parade that term, Bernie Sanders obviously kind of led with it, with this whole democratic socialist, and they could say that. I get it. We're all about freedom, but there's no freedom in socialism. You're essentially advocating acts of aggression upon peaceful people, right? It is an anti-private property position, which goes against everything it is that we're supposedly believing in. So that is what frightens me. Though AOC gets what she deserves all around, when I hear like, hey, this is the largest socialist party or what have you, that should be nullified completely. These guys should not be, it should be very, very uncomfortable for them to exist as a socialist, because essentially what you're doing is advocating aggression upon peaceful people. That's your policy.
So I'm just saying, Donald Trump gets back into the White House, mass deportations of illegal aliens and socialists.
Wait,
hold on. Can I convince you to vote, Eric?
I'll tell you what.
Can I convince
not
you
even
to vote
joking.
if that's the policy?
If the policy was I'm deporting people that advocate socialism, then we have to start having a legitimate conversation as if this is our guy, right? Like, if he's talking about physical removal, maybe he goes and gets Hans Hermann Hoppe and Cap to be his VP. Then, all right, I gotta have a discussion. I gotta at least have a discussion.
But,
I knew there was a line really quick.
When you look at Israel and the Israelis are going, hey, listen, they all want to kill us and there's a problem here. And people try and poo-hoo that and say it's not the case, oh, we just want this and that. You've seen people actually just coming out now and saying it. I mean, and that to me is actually a kind of liberating thing, because at least you can point and say, look.
They're saying the quiet part
they're
out
saying
loud.
it. They're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So there's no equivocating anymore. It's their stance. That's what it is. And
I said real quick.
Sorry.
You got to take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm an actor.
All right, before we end, I just have to say I'm so annoyed. I have to go to a district clerk's office to get some special version of my birth certificate, to go to TSA pre-check, to go. How is it possible that I'm a citizen of this country and I have to jump through so many hoops to go show them that I am who I say I am, and yet we're just letting in millions of people at the southern border and they get IDs?
Well, let me tell you something else as well. I've been stopped more being TSA pre than I was before.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Maybe I don't even want to do it.
Oh.
Okay, well, you just ruined my day.
Sorry.
Actually, you saved me a trip to the,
there you go. Don't
to the clerk's office. So screw you guys. I'm not giving you my money anymore. Fine. All right, we'll see you on Monday.
It's true. They actually stopped Grace this time. They didn't stop me. They stopped.